Okay, so you want to know what scientific evidence is? Let me just explain what scientific evidence is. Scientific evidence is evidence that anyone can reproduce. I mean, let's put it this way. Say I came up to you and said, hey, you want to know something? I got a tube, I got some baking soda, and I got some vinegar. I put them in a tube and it all fizzed up. You would probably say something along the lines, either say, oh yeah, I did that experiment in school, that actually does happen. I've seen it happen. Or you'll probably say, oh really? Let's see, let's prove it. So basically, I take a tube, I take some vinegar, and I take some baking powder. I take an equal amount of vinegar, put in the tube, equal amount of baking powder, put in the tube, fizzes up. And I say, okay, you did the same with your thing. Takes a tube, takes a bit of baking, you take a bit of baking powder, the same amount as I did, put it in, take a bit of vinegar, pour the same amount in, put it in, fizzes up. You see? So basically, I can prove to you, and you can prove to yourself that that actually does happen. You can't do that with God. You can't say something. You can't. There's no real experiment that has been done that has proved that there is in fact a God. I mean, if there is an experiment, a proper experiment that you can repeat, that is repeatable, and that is solid and unambiguous, let me see it. Put it as a video reply. And I don't mean thought experiments either. I mean proper experiments that prove scientifically that God exists. And also you say, oh, perhaps you mean philosophical evidence, which sounds a bit, looking back now, sounds a bit like you trying to change the subject into something that you can win. Well, the philosophical idea of this, the philosophy of God, still doesn't hold much water, does it? Okay, I mean, let's say there was a God, just for the sake of argument, and that God was the God of the Bible, the all-powerful, all-knowing, all-seeing, all-hearing, omnipotent God. Okay, so if that God exists, he would know that there's people who don't believe in him. You would know that they want proof, and he has the power to show the world that he exists. He can do something like provide scientific evidence, so the scientist goes, wow, there's a God, there we go, yeah, that's scientific evidence enough for me. Or he could do something like, shout down from heaven, or shout out from every single point in space to every single person in every single language, hello, my name is God and I exist. Okay, thanks, bye. He could probably even clear up which religion he wants us to follow. Say which religion, is the right religion, if there is a right religion. He could probably even do that every year, so he catches every single person who hasn't heard his message, assuming God is a guy. So, why, if he is all powerful, why did he do that? Some people say it's God's plan. Well, what is God's plan? I mean, it's obvious if he exists from the Bible that he does somehow want us to, follow his little rules to the book, because he rewards those that follow his rules with heaven and happiness, an eternity of happiness and joy and love, all the best things in the world reproduced in heaven. But if you don't follow his rules, he sends you down to hell. He sends you down to be burnt alive for eternity. So, he wouldn't offer rewards or punishments if he didn't want you to follow his little rules. So if he wants you to follow his little rules, why can't he do something like, help people, know that he exists and he wants you to follow his little rules and what rules he wants to follow? Do you see where I'm coming from? If he exists, he would be able to talk to every single person on the planet and say he exists, and I don't mean a prophet or a special one or someone who has a revelation, I mean every single person at the same time. Do you get me? Do you understand that? And that is the reason why I just cannot believe in a God.